very special. Jerry, you and I have witnessed this documentary.
Yeah, it's a great documentary. I watched it a couple months ago, and folks, this is one of the best making of documentaries of film you're ever going to see.
It is the best. And, you know, we mentioned that Jaws was the Jaws log was the most successful book ever made on the making of a film. This is the quintessential film on the making of a film.
Yeah.
It really is. There's no other way to say it. It is an orgy for every Jaws fan, every fan of great filmmaking out there. It really is. And we're so delighted to welcome the crew of The Shark Is Still Working back with us. But before we do, we have limited time, I know, but this is just too delicious to pass up. Here is the official trailer for The Shark Is Still Working, with narration by none other than the original Jaws narrator, Mr. Percy Rodriguez. Take a listen to this.
There is a feature alive today that has survived more than 3 decades of motion picture evolution, without change, without question, and without equal. It lives to thrill, a timeless cinematic classic. It still attracts and captivates millions. It is as if Hollywood created the perfect motion picture experience and called it Jaws. The year was 1975. Audiences around the globe bore witness to the box office phenomenon that changed it all.
This movie crashed into people like a speeding truck.
Jaws, the terrifying blockbuster film by director Steven Spielberg, sent shockwaves throughout contemporary culture.
We're not girls anymore.
Shockwaves that continue to reverberate today.
I still get a little nervous in water, being like, is there a shark in here?
Now, an all-new documentary explores the amazing endurance of this groundbreaking film. The Shark Is Still Working. We'll take you on a journey back to the beginning.
Making Jaws was the toughest filmmaking production experience I've ever encountered.
It's not going to be pleasant.
The shark is not working.
Nothing's ever come close.
We're all living very frustrated summer. Our fear was that the shark wouldn't work on the screen.
To the extraordinary impact of Jaws on society.
I cannot tell you how many people have said, because of Jaws, I will not go in the water to this day.
Entertainment.
Anyone who's around my age, who's in this movie business, always kind of cites Jaws as the movie that made them want to get into movies.
And shark science.
I have heard from a bunch of marine biologists that the number of people interested in the study of sharks has doubled or tripled since Jaws was released.
To the picture's unquestionable legacy that abounds through the passionate expression of its fans.
I still remember the first time that I saw Jaws in the theater and how it affected me. It absolutely changed the direction of my life in one night.
Exclusive interviews with Steven Spielberg, Roy Scheider, Richard Dreyfuss, Peter Benchley, and many others give insight into what made this beleaguered fish story one of Hollywood's critically acclaimed and enduring cinematic successes. Just when you thought you knew everything there is to know about Jaws, now comes The Shark Is Still Working. The impact and legacy of Jaws. See it before you watch Jaws again.
Oh, yeah, that is too good. It is a great privilege to welcome to the show, and some of them back to the show, Mr. Jake Gove, James Gillette, Eric Hollander, Michael McCormick, Michael Roddy. I am going to bring the lines up here one by one. And hello, everyone. How you guys doing?
Hey.
Hey,
What's
hey,
up?
Jamie, Jerry.
Hey, thanks. It's good to hear your
Always
voices.
a pleasure, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
It's one big party. It's one big Jaws party tonight. It's such a great honor to bring everyone this show tonight, and I can't think of a better way to close the show than to welcome you guys on it. A fantastic documentary. We all know you guys are doing gangbuster work on trying to get it out there, and you have some promising leads. And the second you know what's going to happen, you'll share it with the fans out there.
The half second we know. We're getting so stocked with obviously day by day people wanting to know what's going on, and oh, believe me, we are dying to tell people what's going on. But it is a process.
Like I said, it is really the quintessential. You guys I can't imagine a better job on covering this phenomenon than what you guys pulled off. And even beyond the scope of the making of the film, which is very well documented, and how it all came together, you speak to you speak to filmmakers that have been influenced by this film. It changed their lives in the course of their lives. You examine the phenomenon of just the fans that are still rabid about this movie the world over. I mean, really no stone unturned. I'm wondering, though, was there an interview or someone that you couldn't get to that you regret that you couldn't get to, James?
There are two people that I consider to be gaping holes in the Shark is Still Working, the way we have it structured as it is. One of them falls into the Jaws alumni category, and the other one falls into the modern-day filmmaker who are diehard Jaws fans category. And they would be Teddy Grossman. Teddy Grossman was Roy Scheider's stunt double, and also the guy in the red boat who loses his leg.
Right. Okay.
And he was extremely interested, wanted to do it, but the guy travels like you wouldn't believe. He's in the country like 2 days out of the year, and we just couldn't catch up with the guy. And the one who's a filmmaker, diehard Jaws fan, and was also interested, was Steven Soderbergh.
Oh, yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, we had talked to him, and he expressed extreme interest, but he was just leaving the country to go start shooting Che, which has been a mammoth project for him down in South America. So, yeah, those, in my opinion, are the two. I mean, there were other people that we would have liked to have gotten and would be nice to have in there, but those are the two that I consider to be, real holes as far as what our vision for the documentary was.
But it's such a feast. Excuse me, your movie that you don't notice it at all. You have Kevin Smith, M. Night Shyamalan, Bryan Singer, who actually named his production company out of a line from Jaws, Bad Hat Harry. Just an incredible team of talent, front and back in this documentary. I want to know in the making of it, or just sitting back and watching it from each of you, starting with you, Eric. What is your favorite moment? What is your fondest moment from this project?
From the making of it, or from
the making of it, or watching it, or both?
Oh goodness, you throw that at me first. It's hard. It's kind of like one of the questions we asked. It was one of our pretentious actor studio questions that we came up with early on. Was asking all the Jaws veterans, if Jaws was one of your children, which child would it be, and all that. And I always thought that's kind of pretentious, but now I kind of feel that way about so many segments in this documentary that, for different reasons, I really hold certain segments more dear than others. It's actually gone through a migration. I kind of favored the second disc more after it was first finished. But I think the part that I find the most satisfying is probably the first 45 minutes. I think the structure is laid out very pleasing, and it just has a real flow to it. But I think, just as an overall memory of the experience, and I'm going to assume I'm speaking for everybody here, but was the meeting with Spielberg and John Williams was over the top Jaws geek moment of a lifetime. And having done this for long enough, you tend to get a little less likely to be starstruck, but in that situation, it was just larger than life.
Yeah. What about you,
so
Jay?
every time I see that, time I see any, I'm sorry.
No, go
I was
ahead.
just going to say, anytime I see any segment of their interviews, it's a great memory.
Yeah. Jake, how about you?
Well, for me, the same thing with Spielberg and John Williams, because that was where our project took on a new legitimacy that I never even dreamed that it would take on. just because it was so, it was just such a coup to get Spielberg when he traditionally hadn't been doing interviews talking about Jaws. And then the other one I would say would be Kevin Smith, because I've always been a huge fan of Kevin Smith's films. And it was just, just hanging out with Kevin Smith was fun. He was a blast to hang out with. He's really down to earth, and it was just like, meeting up with a long lost friend. So.
Yeah. Michael Roddy, we have two Michaels here. What was the highlight for you, my friend?
It's funny. I'm going to have to say early on when we met Roy Scheider, because the man, when we got there, Eric and I had talked about making a film about going to meet Roy Scheider, because it was the most calamity-filled experience just getting to Long Island that weekend. And then James met us up there, and we drove out to his house on Long Island. And I remember driving up and getting very nervous, because, I realized that Roy Scheider was, at a very early age when I first saw Jaws, it was like he was one of the first, heroes I had seen in a movie. Yeah. And I had placed all of this burden on that man, like he's got to be Chief Brody, he's got to be the most genuine stand-up guy, and if he's not, if he's a jerk, or if he blows us off, my God, I'll be crushed. And, we drove up, and the minute we got out of the car, we heard this Brooklyn accent yell out the window, and just the most generous man opened the door and welcomed us into his life, and, made us, you guys want some tea, you want some root beer, set up what and we just had a great afternoon with him. Yeah. And, he became such a great friend to us, and such a believer in what we were doing, that obviously the Spielberg moment was amazing, but that to me was my favorite moment, just because it was a guy that owed us nothing, but gave us everything.
Absolutely, yeah. And Mike McCormick, my good friend, you had a similar feeling about Mr. Scheider. He was a real hero of yours, actually, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, as we did when you had us on for the Roy Scheider show, tribute show after he passed away. Roy was. A lot of what Michael's saying is true. You hope somebody is going to be as great as you have them built up to be, and if someone's your hero on the screen, you hope that they're just a small portion of that in real life, and Roy was more than that in real life, in my experience.
Yeah, amazing man. James, how about you? And also, the final question, in the canon of Spielberg's career, what place does Jaws hold for you, as well as the most memorable moment for you of the shoot?
The most memorable moment, gotta go with Spielberg. And for the same reason that every single person that you've talked to tonight has said, what Spielberg is like, and we can all agree that that's exactly the way he was. And I think I remember once upon a time you talking about what it was like to meet Al Pacino, in that Al Pacino is so grand that he has a sense of the reputation that precedes him, and he knows what it must be like for people to encounter him, so therefore he goes out of his way to make it easy, and to make it comfortable. And that's the way Spielberg was with us. Here we were waiting in the room for our interview, and we could actually hear him out in the hall before he came into the room. And I think all four of us were looking at each other going, oh no. Steven Spielberg, he's right out there, and in a few seconds he's going to be in here. And our hearts are pounding. Very, very nervous moment. But he comes in, and within maybe 3 seconds, that all goes away. He was so nice, and shaking hands, and really interested in each and every one of us and the project, and made the interview process very easy. I sit down. I have to conduct the interviews, and that's a pretty tough kind of pressure, no matter who you're dealing with. But when it's
daunting
Spielberg, I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be, get ready for cardiac arrest, guys. But he ironically ended up being the easiest interview, or one of the easiest interviews out of all of them.
Wow. Okay.
So that would be the moment.
I just want to let our listeners know we're sorry we might go just a little bit, just a couple of minutes over tonight. We just have a couple of minutes left for these guys, and we tried to pack it all into 2 hours, and it was just too difficult. But if you miss any part of the live feed, you can go to our archives. You can actually with your mouse click advance to the end of the show and the part that you missed on our archives if the live feed happens to drop out. James, what does Jaws mean in Spielberg's career? Where does it lie for you?
But before I get to that, let me just say I'm very delighted. I have no problem with it whatsoever. I don't think any of us do with ending up with a short segment, because you have done a wonderful, wonderful show tonight. This has been great.
Oh, thank you, man.
Just to sit and listen to it as a Jaws fan, this has been wonderful. As far as Jaws' placement in Spielberg's career for me personally, Jaws is my second favorite movie of all time, but my first favorite movie of all time is also a Spielberg movie. It was Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh yeah.
I was so young when Jaws came out. I was only 3 when it came out. So even though I was a big movie fan and a big Spielberg fan as a kid, somehow I made it to the age to like high school, like 18 or 19, before I saw Jaws. And as a matter of fact, it was my partners Michael and Eric. You know, the 3 of us have gone back forever. We've known each other since I was like a little teenager. It was the 2 of them that kind of inflicted Jaws on me for the first time. They said, wait a second, let me get this straight. You love Spielberg and you love movies, but you've never seen Jaws? There's something cosmically wrong about that. So that of course is very memorable. But yeah, I don't know. I can't really go beyond that. It's my second favorite movie of all time, next to Raiders. What more can you say? When there's nothing to improve about it, it's still just a magnificent classic.
Yeah, and it really started the journey of Spielberg's career, and the most popular and one of the truly great filmmakers of all time. It was right there. I mean, it marked the beginnings of that. Michael McCormick, our good friend, our composer. Mike and all of you guys, I know you guys have worked hard to put this show together for us, and we cannot thank you enough. And bless all of you, and bless your film. This film deserves to be seen. It demands to be seen. And
amen to that.
Yeah, I'm counting the days when it's available.
Jamie, the thing I want to get across about the Sharks Still Working is, I mean, this is I met these guys just over 3 years ago. And they were making this thing, and I mean, these aren't like filmmakers, like these are fans of the movie Jaws. I mean,
right.
And the way they've pulled together and gotten the guests they've got, I mean, it's amazing, and just this thing is rooted in the fans, and I just hope everybody can spread the word about the documentary and just understand it was made with a lot of love. And,
it was made with love, and you can feel that, and that's what makes it such an infectious experience. It's so different from any of the other kind of cold academic making ofs. You know, it really stands out. Yeah, it really stands out. And guys, I'm so sorry that we're out of time. It seems like you guys just got on the phone, and you did, and I feel terrible. But thank you all so much.
No, you allocated it brilliantly. Trust me.
Thank you all so much.
Having us on.
Thank you. Jake Gove, James Gillette, Eric Hollander, Michael McCormick, and Michael Roddy. The crew of The Shark is still working. The best darn making of documentary you'll ever see, and I hope you get to see it very soon, and I know the guys do too.